On the whole, like, where do you feel like you guys are going into this year in terms of overall returnees and just experience?
Well, I mean, it's like any program. We have a lot of experience in some areas and not in others. One thing, we'll give the offensive linemen some credit. We feel, we got 4 returning starters back on the offensive line. Got a quarterback coming back who started for us as a sophomore. Got a big-time receiver coming back that played for us as a sophomore. You've got a big-time tight end prospect who will be back for us on the offensive side. One thing we're doing right now is trying to figure out who's going to be the running back. Replacing Dozier is going to be a big task to find there. And also, we're still trying to develop receivers. Figure out who's going to be in that mix as far as rotational reps at receiver. Defensively, we like our front 7 a lot. We feel like we got a lot of pieces back from our box. And that's a good thing. Run the ball, stop the run. Generally leads to success in high school football. And then right now, it's the same thing in the secondary. Just trying to figure out what pieces can play in the secondary that can also maybe not play as much receiver or vice versa. Because, we feel like we have the bodies to stay fresh during a 4-quarter game at our level. Basically a 6A schedule is essentially what we have. So, and then the special team piece of it, we feel good about it. Have our snappers back, holders back. I got our kickers back. So we feel good about that. So I think overall it's just a matter of, finding those little pieces we have to fill in to, put the best 11 guys on the field consistently throughout 4 quarters of football.
Who are some of the main candidates to replace Dozier at running back?
Obviously, at running back, we have a battle. You get DeBillion Porter, who's going to be a sophomore, has a lot of high-end talent, has a lot of potential, but he's a younger kid. Jermichael Howard's back. He's battled some injury issues. He'll be a junior. Wayne Gibson will be a junior. Those 3 have kind of been, running most of the reps as far as that goes. And, feel like spring practice went well at that position. So, those 3, I guess, in particular, are kind of in that battle, our one-back stuff. And, we feel good about their talent. It's just a matter of who can produce now.
When I look back at Blaine's sophomore year, unbelievable year. He's one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch in the area, the way he plays. What did you guys work on in the offseason to improve upon? I know he had some interceptions last year as well, and I'm sure just growing and learning is going to take care of that.
Well, it is. I mean, when you start a sophomore quarterback, you're going to have some growing pains there from just an experience standpoint. Some of the interceptions weren't really on him. He may have got hit and the ball flew up, or we may have missed a protection, or, it may be one of those things we were just kind of throwing a deep ball and a guy made a play on it. So, but you're right. I think the decision-making will improve a lot. I think his arm strength is going to improve a lot. I think his leadership skills are going to be there. And one thing with Blaine we didn't do last year is he can run. And we didn't really run him much because we wanted, at that point we were a little thin at the position. So I think this year, one thing we're going to try to emphasize a little bit is kind of showcase him as a dual threat kid. Obviously, you got Will Presley back to throw the ball too, had a big year for us as a sophomore as well. Picked up a couple offers this summer, very fast, skilled receiver. And then, of course, you have Malik, sophomore tight end who's, picked up 3 SEC offers this summer. So we feel like there's some pieces there to get the ball to. Now it's just a matter of, how to, for Blaine's perspective, developing more receivers around those guys and just doing the little things at a high level, as far as, hey, knowing how to flip a protection, hey, knowing how to escape the pocket. If we call a run and you pull it, get north and south, steal some first downs with your legs. So we feel good about his growth and maturity. A great kid to be around, a very coachable student of the game, hard worker, and he really had a good summer spinning the ball in front of the college coaches as well.
I texted you at our jamboree, or maybe after our jamboree last year, when I saw Malik as a defensive lineman. Will he still play on the end for you guys?
He will. So what we're trying to do is develop some players there, because if a kid's playing the whole game, they generally wear down a little bit. They're not as effective overall. So Malik will kind of morph to more of an edge rusher for us. He will play some defense, and he'll be primarily an offensive threat just because he's so skilled and so big, and that's kind of where he's being recruited as. But he will play some edge for us, and I think but when it's all said and done, he'll be a big time player in the area.
I think back to my mentality as a sophomore, and if SEC schools started offering me, like, that's a big thing to process as a 15 or 16-year-old. How have you guys tried to coach Malik through that and how to approach it?
My thing was, I talked to him after spring ball before he had an offer and said, hey, you're probably going to blow up. Just, be humble about it, stay hungry about it, keep working. Number one, he's a great kid, great worker, does a lot of stuff on his own, which is good, and the development stuff. And I think he's going to be a very, very hungry kid, and I think he really wants it. So I think it's he's obviously excited about those opportunities. Those schools are really excited about him. it's not just fluff. I mean, they're really excited. They've evaluated him. They've some schools have privately worked him out. So I think for him, it's just a matter of keep developing, because if you don't do that, as you get older, some of that stuff may disappear. And I think he's one that is going to keep developing and keep working. And I think he embraces the grind part of it, which is a big deal.
Will Presley at wide receiver, I know you mentioned him and him getting some offers. And can you speak to the chemistry that he and quarterback have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're good friends. I mean, they've grown up a little bit some together and played the game. And I think it's important for quarterbacks to have chemistry with all your receivers. Obviously, Blaine and Will kind of have a natural connection there, and I think that's what the quarterback receiver relationship kind of has to be. I mean, because if the receiver's not running his full speed route and the quarterback's throwing the ball in practice, where you get in the game, it's different. You're not going to be successful. So our big thing is to emphasize, hey, let's practice the way you play so we can be very efficient in the passing game. And I think you'll see Will have a big season because he'll be more of the guy, and he's got great linear speed. I know last year towards the end of the year he was averaging over 20 yards a reception, and had some big-time shot play touchdown stuff. So you're just looking forward to that chemistry developing a little bit as we progress in the season, and I think it'll be fun.
Last thing, and I talked with Matt Lowe about this, and someone asked me at a business lunch yesterday who I thought would come out of our area in 5A, and I couldn't answer it. It's just so deep, and it's been that way for a couple of years. When you take in the landscape of 5A football, what are your thoughts on it and just the overall depth of it?
Obviously, I think 5A football has always been fun because you have schools, I feel like, that have similar characteristics. We're kind of unique because we pair up with the Chattanooga schools in the playoffs, but even those schools have similar characteristics to us in the Knoxville schools. So 5A is obviously super deep. It's always been deep because you've had your Centrals and West and Pals that are all kind of, I guess, in similar geographic areas, and it's just super competitive. And I think it's fun. I think it's funner when you have teams that are competitive with each other because it makes the games closer. It makes the games funner. I think it creates more of an interest, kind of like when you think of the NFL, there's a lot of parity in the NFL, and I think right here in 5A there's a lot of parity. So it's kind of like you said, it's kind of who's playing the best football at the right time. In the past couple of years, West has found a way to do that, and Powell has too recently. And I think for us, it's just how can we, Oak Ridge, peak at the right time to make that playoff run, to maybe see one of those teams down the road in the playoffs, and then our ultimate goal, get to Cookville.